Hello, everybody. All right. So, welcome to the Mikestand. Today is Monday, April 7th, 2025. Of course, we're going to give people a chance to come in before we get started. But if you haven't already, of course, if you guys can help out by liking and sharing the stream, see if we get some more friendly people in here to engage, that'd be appreciated. Also, if anything here grabs your attention, feel free to comment and or ask questions. I'll try to answer the questions to the best of my ability. Let me see. Let me try one last time here to see if we can drum up a few more viewers here. Hmm. Da, 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 da. Da, 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 da. Da, da. Da, 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 da. Da, 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 da. All right, so with that being said here, let's see now. Let's see. So, all right, so. All right, so let's see now. All right, so let's see now. So, anyways, all right, well, we're at the 3 minute. We're just past the 3 minute mark, so I guess I'll talk about what's on tap for tonight. So I've got a couple of articles I'm going to go over from Bounding into Comics. Um, One of them having to do, so Cowboy Bebop creator says his new anime Lazarus originally pitched as being similar to Space Dandy. And then the other one, after years snubbing Spider-Man and MJ, Marvel Comics. So Marvel Comics doesn't think that MJ and Peter should get back together, but they do seem like they like the idea of keeping Rogue and Gambit, saying that they have something going. So you kind of have to wonder. Have to kind of wonder just how things are likely to go there. So, anyways, but those two articles, and of course, we'll have the wrestling wrap up coming up here as well, and then get caught up on all as WWE, of course, continues to make uh, to to march its way towards WrestleMania 41. Some news came out in regards to one of the matches, as one of the matches is apparently had to be called off. There was also some interesting drama happening on Friday night as well. And then we'll also talk a bit about what happened at last night's Dynasty. Look ahead to tonight's Raw. Um, and then wrap things up with, of course, this day in each history. So, with that being said, we're now just past the 5 minute mark. Why don't we go ahead and get started here? Get to the material at hand here. Get to the articles here. We will go ahead and get started here. All right. So the first article we're going to look at here. All right, so Cowboy Bebop creator says his new anime Lazarus, originally pitched as being similar to, in smaller quotes, Space Dandy, but Adult Swim wanted, quote, something more serious, unquote. Article by Spencer McCooley, published today. So let's see what's going on here. So, according to Cowboy Bebop creator Shinichiro Watanabe, when he was first approached by Cartoon Network to produce a new project on their dime, he originally pitched the idea of creating something akin to his comedy sci-fi series Space Dandy, but pivoted to developing his newly launched Lazarus after being told by Warner Brothers by the Warner Brothers subsidiary to make something more serious. Anyways, all right. Sorry, let me just. I'm gonna need to go off camera here for a quick moment, but I will be right back. All right, sorry about that. Let's see. Let's get back to the article now. All right, so jointly animated by the god of high school team Mappa and Sola Entertainment for the Adult Swim imprint's Toonami programming block, Lazarus introduces audiences to the not too far-flung future of 2052, dropping them onto an idealistic version of the future Earth, whose most notable discovery is the drug Hapna, a miracle painkiller capable of numbing any and all pain in a human's body when taken. Oh boy, that sounds kind of dangerous. Because the thing is, sometimes you need pain to tell you that you're actually in danger of something. I don't know if going around being that numb is really a good idea, but however, 3 years after Hapna's introduction to the world at large, its inventor, Dr. Skinner, suddenly emerges from an unexplained self-exile, in doing so, uploading a video to the internet and revealing to the world that the drug's short effectiveness period eventually gives way to immediate death, and time will soon be up for anyone who took it. Whoa! Always a price to pay, isn't there? Enter Axel Gilberto, a young Brazilian prisoner who was originally given a short jail sentence on charges of petty crime, but has since racked up a required total of 888 years behind bars due to his continual and often successful attempts at breaking out of whatever facility happens to house him. Faced with an inability to locate Dr. Skinner and an ever-ticking timer to mass death, the U.S. government eventually taps Axel to track down the madman. placing him on the eponymous Lazarus Spec Ops team alongside a group of other specialists. However, rather than a futuristic thriller, Watanabe recently told Japanese Mantaweb, um, that he originally floated the idea of using Adult Swim's investment to fund a project similar to in tone to his 2014 outing Space Dandy, stylized Space Star Dandy. But network boss Jason DeMarco ultimately dismissed the prospect. As translated via ChatGPT, reflecting on the series development process ahead of American and Japanese broadcast premiere on April 6th, which was, I guess, last night or over the week, the esteemed anime director explained, quote, "This is an original anime with no source material. So the staff, including myself, are creating it from scratch. Initially received an offer from Cartoon Network, the company that broadcasts anime in the US, saying, quote, we'll fully fund it, but we want you to make an original anime, unquote." Quote, "The president, Jason DeMarco, is a big fan of Cowboy Bebop and a huge music enthusiast," unquote. Watanabe continued, quote, "He said, I can tell the way you use music is unusual. I want you to make a show like that." He also said, quote, "We'd like a sci-fi action series," unquote. When I asked if something like Space Dandy would work, he replied, "No." Smaller quotes. "We want something more serious," unquote. Quote, "They basically trusted me as a director and there wasn't much micromanagement of the content," unquote. He added. Quote, "Typically with American collaborations, there can be a lot of interference, but this time I was able to create it more freely," unquote. So, to this end, the Cowboy Bebop legend then detailed how, in light of both this request and both Adult Swim's residence in Canada, as well as hosting network Cartoon Networks in the United States, he chose to theme Lazarus' story around North America's ongoing opioid crisis. Quote, "Although it may not be well known in Japan, the opioid crisis is a major issue in the US and other countries, and it inspired the story," unquote. So he's making an original anime about about a serious medical issue. That's pretty interesting. I guess that's why they call it Adult Swim, right? Hmm. And again, a friendly reminder, of course, if you guys can. Hey, Fitz Shoza, I see you there. Hey, thanks for dropping in. And of course, if you haven't already, if you guys can help out by liking and sharing the stream, see if we can get some more friendly people to engage, that'd be appreciated. Also, if anything here grabs your attention, feel free to comment and or ask questions. I'll try to answer the questions to the best of my ability. So, as we continue on here, let's see. And okay, he said, quote, "It's a situation where people are dying from opioids, which are prescribed painkillers. For example, Michael Jackson's death was reportedly caused by opioids, and many other musicians have also died because of it. As a music lover, this is a major issue for me. It's strange that these drugs are legal, and I began to think, um, in smaller quotes here, why are these drugs allowed? What if someone deliberately created and spread such a drug to kill many people? Unquote. That's where the inspiration for this story came from. Unquote. Featuring overall direction by Watanabe and action coordination by John Wick franchise director Chad Stahelski. The 4-episode run of Lazarus is now airing on Cartoon Network Saturday night, Toonami Block. So it's like I guess it is considered an OVA because it's an original animation as opposed to something from source material, um, something akin to like Fooly Cooley. All right, so that's that then. Sounds kind of interesting, especially when you're doing an OVA based on something actually from America instead of. But then again, I guess that's who's flipping the bill is an American company, so I guess it would make sense. But with that being said, now let's get ready to move on to the next article here. So after years of snubbing Spider-Man and MJ fans, Marvel Comics exec editor says he won't break up X-Men's Gambit and Rogue because, quote, readers in general seem to be invested in them as a couple, unquote. Okay, so what then is the difference then between Spider and MJ? And okay, this is going to be an interesting read. Article by Spencer McCooley, published. So as you guys know, we've been following the whole thing going on with between Tom Brevoort and fans over whether or not Peter and MJ should get back together and canon. So why he's just absolutely shutting that down. You know, now he's saying that he's going to keep Rogan. So let's see where this is all going here. So despite refusing to listen to the exact same metric when it comes to the idea of reuniting Spider-Man and Mary Jane, Marvel Comics executive editor Tom Brevoort says that while the marriage between X-Men mainstays Rogue and Gambit may have been conceived with the idea of eventually sending them down the road to heartbreak, he currently has no interest in following through on these plans. After seeing the massive amount of investment fans have in their current relationship. Okay, so why don't again same? And they say here same exact metric. Why not bring Peter and Mary Jane back together then? I mean, really? Brevoort, who also serves as lead editor of the publisher's overall X-Men line, offered this hypocritical argument regarding the continuation of Mr. and Mrs. X's union while answering fan questions for the latest entry of his weekly Man with a Hat Substack blog. Pressing the ex-editor as to the publisher's general outlook on their characters getting married, one fan opened his inquiry by referring to a past appearance by Marvel Comics writer Donny Cates on artist and his former Venom Volume 4 partner in crime, Ryan Stegman's Stagman and His Amazing Friends podcast. wherein he revealed that part of the reason he pitched Rogue and Gambit as a replacement to the maligned Kitty and Colossus marriage, in brackets, as seen in 2017's X-Men Gold Volume 2, Number 30, was because Rogue and Gambit, as characters, could handle getting divorced. So to me, that always signified that divorce was somewhat built into the narrative conceit of them being married. Moving to raise their actual question, said Van continued. Quote, now obviously Gail, in brackets here, Simone, who is currently writing both characters in Uncanny X-Men Volume 6, unbracketed, isn't going to break them up, in parentheses, although a little strife and drama would be fun, parentheses there. But if a writer in the future, after Gail's run has ended, of course, came along and had a, in parentheses, good story to tell that dissolved this marriage, is that something you would consider? Or are Rogue and Gambit the opposite of Pete and MJ, and thus need to be married in order to, in smaller quotes, work? In turn, Braveheart asserted, quote, I don't think that Rogue and Gambit need to be married in order to work. Them being married is still a relatively new thing in terms of their history. By that same token, I'm also not really looking to break them up. Readers in general seem to be invested in them as a couple, unquote. Well, people also seem to be pretty invested in Peter and MJ as a couple, so why not bring them back together, you dolt? As noted above, Braveheart's defense of Rogue and Gambit's marriage on the grounds that, in small quote, readers support it, smaller quote, stands in stark contrast to his ongoing dismissal of the even more overwhelming fan demand to see Marvel Comics undo one more day and bring Spider-Man and Mary Jane back together. Asked by a fan for the March 9th edition of his Substack blog as to his thoughts on the, quote, recurring idea that the success of the new Ultimate Spider-Man, parentheses, with a married Peter Parker, is an indication that the regular 616 Peter's marriage to MJ should be reinstated, and that it is the fault of the editors over there for not recognizing that and thus reaping similar sales success, unquote. The Marvel Comics exec pushed back, quote, yeah, I've been hearing from a couple of yahoos whose idea of a good time is to send us the same form letter about MJ and Paul every day, every single day. But here's the thing. I think the point of view that you're talking about is simply incorrect. Unquote. Yeah, you're a moron. Braveheart, you're a moron. You are an absolute moron. Quote, first off, the difference in sales between Ultimate Spider-Man and Amazing Spider-Man is relatively slim, unquote, said Braveheart. Quote, it's not like Ultimate Spider-Man is doing twice or three times the business or anything. That may be true, but the thing is that it's still consistently outselling him even if it is not by much. Quote, it's not like, oh, okay, yeah, we read that. And secondly, I don't think that the success of Ultimate at the moment is just down to Pete and MJ being married within it. I think it has a lot to do more with the quality of the work that Jonathan Hickman and Marco Cicchetto are producing, unquote. Here's a thought too. Maybe Braveheart doesn't want to bring them back together because he realizes he can't write them as a married couple for some reason. I think he may be actually afraid that if he tries to write them as a married couple, then sales will really tank. But then again, and everybody will see just what a dingbat he is. But anyways, a friendly reminder, of course, if you guys haven't already, you guys can help out by liking and sharing the stream. See if we can get some more friendly people in here to engage. That'd be appreciated. Also, if anything here grabs your attention, feel free to comment and/or ask questions, and I'll try to answer the questions to the best of my ability. Anyways, as we continue on here, quote. So I get people who want Pete and MJ back together. Of course, going to point to that series, but the truth is that it really doesn't make a convincing argument to me at all, unquote, he concluded. Quote, I've been around this particular sort of block too many times over the years to mistake the same. Oh, really? Then what's going on with Rogue and Gambit then? What do you see in Rogue and Gambit that makes that work and wouldn't make work for Pete and MJ? And that's all we got there for that one. All right, so now we looked at that a bit there. Okay, still got a little time, but I can see if I can maybe see if there's anything new here. I guess not. Those were the two newest things came up since I. All right, so let me go take a look at some other things here. Let's see. Let me see if I can find. I wasn't sure if I was going to or not, but we're coming up on 30 minutes real quick here, but not keen on the idea of yeah, I know I'm talking to myself. I'm just trying to think of what I should do in this case. Just give me a sec here. Anything of interest? All right. Yeah, something. I know it's a little early, but I guess I'll just move right into the wrestling wrap up because for all I know, I think considering there's a couple of stories anyways there that might take us a while anyways. I think I'm just gonna. I just saw something here that for tomorrow that might be a good story to go with for tomorrow. So let's see now. We're gonna go ahead and move ahead to some interesting to WWE news first. Heading back to Friday Night SmackDown, as it were. Had some interesting things happened on the road to WrestleMania this past Friday. A couple big news items, in fact. Um, Let's see now. All right, so now we're kind of cut up. Kind of there. So on Friday night SmackDown, of course. Before we get into the results of what happened, of course, a couple of news items came out from Friday Night SmackDown. The first being is that it's been announced that as they were prepping for a possible match between Randy Orton and Kevin Owens for this year's WrestleMania, that match may now be off because apparently it's been discovered that Kevin Owens has suffered a neck injury that's so serious that he has to have surgery on it. They're talking about the possibility of fusion surgery on his neck. He's been having issues with it for the last couple months here, apparently, and now he's apparently going to be out for WrestleMania while he's, getting that treated. Also, things really kind of went off the rails, as it were, um, during a kind of a promo segment between Tiffany Stratton and Charlotte Flair in their preparation for their upcoming match at WrestleMania, as they both went off. Apparently, it started with Charlotte, and then Tiffany. They kind of did some back and forth here, where at one point Tiffany kind of chided Charlotte for her 3 divorces, while Charlotte fired back and asking her why her real life boyfriend Ludwig Kaiser was in her DMs, only for Kaiser to respond on social media with kind of an old clip of back in the 90s when during Shawn Michaels' feud with Davey Boy Smith, and Diane had accused him of trying to seduce her. So a couple of those little sidebars there coming out of and now with the whole Flair Stratton situation, it's apparently gotten pretty real to where now, there are a few executives who are not happy with what ended up transpiring, for one thing, and two, they're like having to feel like they got to settle the two down and get them back on a more professional track here. Apparently, though, these two women do not like each other, from what we've been told. So stay tuned for that drama, because that's going to probably be a very interesting situation to be watching. But anyways, getting to the results of what happened on the show itself, on Friday Night SmackDown itself. The opening match saw the WWE debut of Rey Fenix, as he defeated Nathan Frazier in just over 8 minutes. Of course, Phoenix towards the end of last year was in a real heated situation where he was basically accusing, and at one point pretty much accusing Tony Khan, when he was still in AEW, of slavery for not letting him out of his contract. There was some talk too that people were wondering if the plan was to ever get the brothers back together, because Rey Fenix is, of course, the brother of Penta, who's over on Raw. But it was revealed that the plans, at least initially here, was to actually have them on separate brands. So Phoenix making his WWE debut on this past Friday SmackDown, defeating one half of the NXT Tag Team Champions, Nathan Frazier. In a non-title match, LA Knight defeated Tama Tonga in a one-on-one match. In a number one contendership match to see who would face the Street Profits next to the WWE Tag Team titles, the Motor City Machine Guns of Chris Sabin and Alex Shelley defeated DIY of Tommaso Ciampa and Johnny Gargano. Of course, two former tag team champion championship teams are on the line here. Naomi defeated B-Fab in a singles match in just over 2 minutes, and after the match, Jade Cargill came out to confront as Naomi was actually getting ready to beat down B-Fab more. Jade Cargill came out, which ended up setting up their match coming up now, as it was announced and signed by Nick Aldis, that Naomi will be taking on Jade Cargill at WrestleMania. Now, this is of some historical significance, because this is the first ever, apparently, from what I heard, according to the news, apparently Naomi and Jade Cargill will be the first singles women's match, first non-title singles women's match in WrestleMania history. The women's matches before have either been title matches, even the singles matches have been title matches, or part of some gimmick match like a battle royal or whatever. But this will be the first ever straight up singles match between two women in a non-title situation at WrestleMania. It took 41 years for this to happen. So, and then the main event saw in a WWE United States #1 contendership last man standing match, saw Jacob Fatu outlast Braun Strowman, beat Jacob Fatu, the Samoan werewolf, beat the count, whereas Braun Strowman could not beat the count. So that was from Friday night. Now, as we look ahead to tonight, on tonight's Raw, as a march toward. And by the way, last Friday's SmackDown came from the Allstate Arena in Rosemont, Illinois. Of course, on the USA Network, hosted by Joe Tessitore. Wade Barrett was actually the one in the ring during Charlotte Flair and Tiffany Stratton's exchange. So now with that, now looking ahead to tonight's Monday Night Raw. Looking ahead to tonight's Monday Night Raw, as we will see here in a moment. As soon as I get there. Tonight's Monday Night Raw, coming from the Target Center in Minneapolis, Minnesota, on Netflix with Michael Cole and Pat McAfee. As again, the WWE has returned from its European tour, its Road from the European tour. In a match for the WWE Women's Intercontinental title, Lyra Valkyria will be defending the title against Bayley. Penta takes on Dominic Mysterio in what could be a precursor to potential four-way match for the Intercontinental title at WrestleMania. And the main event will see WWE World Tag Team Champions, the War Raiders, Eric and Ivar, defending the title against the New Day's Kofi Kingston and Xavier Woods. So, that's what you got there. Now let's go to AEW. As last night, of course, they held their pay-per-view, the Dynasty pay-per-view, which I think overall was generally okay, but I think there were just some major booking issues that most fans did not take too kindly to. On the pre-show, on the 0 hour pre-show, which is on YouTube, hosted by Excalibur, Matt Menard, and Tony Schiavone, in a six-man tag match, trios match, the crew of Action Andretti and Leo Rush teamed with Nick Wayne, defeat the top flight duo of Darius and Dante Martin and AR Fox, and then in an open challenge match that Max Caster said he was going to win, Anthony Bowens made his in-ring return to AEW, being out for a while, and defeated Max Caster. That happened on the pre-show. Now, as we move ahead to the main show of Dynamite, the show opened up with the first of two Owen Hart Foundation men's tournament quarterfinal matches, in which Will Ospreay defeated Kevin Knight, advancing in the tournament. And in both cases, in both the men's and women's, the winners of the Owen Hart Foundation tournaments this year will each get a shot at their respective world champions at All In Texas later this year. The men, whoever will, and right now it's Jon Moxley, and on the women's side it's Toni Storm, and we'll get to that in a moment. But then after Will Ospreay defeating Kevin Knight in a match for the AEW World Tag Team titles, the Hurt Syndicate of Shelton Benjamin and Bobby Lashley with MVP in their corner defeated the Learning Trees, Big Bill and Brian Keith. In the lone women's quarterfinal match of the evening, in a non-title match, of course, TBS champion Mercedes Moné defeated former TBS champion Julia Hart. In the AEW World Trios title match, the Death Riders, Claudio Castagnoli, Pac, and Wheeler Yuta defeated rated FTR of Cope and, of course, FTR of Dax Harwood and Cash Wheeler. After the match, though, there was a little bit of heat up as after the match, FTR turned on Cope, putting him out for what some people will believe will be for the next couple months here, at least till July. He's, I guess, going to be out till July from what some reports are saying, as they pile drived him after the match. So this is interesting to see where as now apparently FTR has turned heel now after having been faces for a while. In the AEW Women's World Title match, Toni Storm retained over Megan Bayne after reversing Megan Bayne's finisher into a roll-up. And in the other men's quarterfinal match in the Owen Hart tournament for the night, Kyle Fletcher defeated Mark Briscoe, evening up their series at 2 apiece, 2 wins apiece. In the match, in a title versus mask match for the Ring of Honor World Title, Bandito, with help from his family, defeated Chris Jericho to win the Ring of Honor World Championship. In a no time limit match for the TNT title, Adam Cole wins his first AEW title as he defeats Daniel Garcia in the for the AEW TNT title. In a match for the AEW International AEW International title 3-way match, Kenny Omega retained over Mike Bailey and Ricochet, only to be confronted by Kazuchika Okada afterwards, in something that people have been talking about, the possibility of Kenny Omega and Okada facing off against each other to merge the Continental and International titles together, as of course Okada is the current Continental title. My guess is when they merge it, they'll start calling it the Intercontinental title, which I would think made sense. The main event saw Jon Moxley, with not only the help of his other Death Riders, but also with a surprise appearance of the Young Bucks, retain the AEW World Title over Swerve Strickland, much to the chagrin of many fans. Many AEW fans are rightfully angry, as they have indicated they are tired of seeing Moxley as champion here. Apparently, Tony Khan seems dead set on keeping the AEW World Title on Moxley until Darby Allin gets back, as they have deemed that Darby Allin is the one who they want to have take the title off of Moxley, not recognizing that the fans are already fed up with the whole Death Riders angle and bringing the Young Bucks back to reinforce that. I think it's only going to infuriate fans that much more. So, no matches for Wednesday have been announced yet for Dynamite on Wednesday. But I guess we'll just have to wait and see how all that pans out. So with that being said, of course, now we're going to go ahead and move on to this day in each history. So today being Monday, April 7th, 2025. Let's take a look back at this day in each history. History! So let's see. 1955, 2015, and 2005. All right. So first off, I'm going to head back 70 years ago today, as on this date 70 years ago today. The date 70 years ago today. On this date 70 years ago today, the 135th issue of Marvel Tales, which of course started out as Marvel Comics and then went to Marvel Mystery Comics and then eventually settled on Marvel Tales. The 135th issue of Marvel Tales went on sale on this date back in 1955, 70 years ago today. It sold for 10 cents and 32 pages. You had more or less just a bunch of random stories in it. So that happened back in 1955. Now moving ahead to the year 2005, and I of course make the change here. On this year, in the year 2005, J.C. Staff's Loveless premiered on TV Arashi and ABC in Japan on its date back in 2005. Loveless was based on the manga of the same name by Yun Koga. Let's see. In his first day at his new school, a then 12-year-old Ritsuka Aogi meets a mysterious 20-year-old male named Sobi Agatsuma. Sobi claims to be a good friend of Ritsuka's brother, Seimei, who was murdered 2 years earlier. Upon the inspection of Seimei's abandoned computer files, Ritsuka discovers that an organization called Septimal Moon was responsible for Seimei's death. So, let's see. As Ritsuka quickly discovers, Seimei and Sobi acted as a pair involved in spell battles invoked by carefully selected words. Now, Sobi is Ritsuka's Sentoki, or fighter unit, and Ritsuka is his sacrifice. Together, they challenge Septimal Moon to find out the truth behind Seimei's murder and the reason for Ritsuka's amnesia, and form an intimate bond as they unravel the mystery. So that happened back in 2005, of course, but that happened 20 years ago today that the Loveless anime premiered on Japanese television. Now moving on to the next piece of niche history. Move ahead to 2015, 10 years ago today. As on this date, 10 years ago today, comedian, actor, and voice actor Stan Freberg, who most notably, of course, did the Beaver and Lady and the Tramp, Junior Bear and Pete Puma in Looney Tunes, Moron and Freakazoid and Dr. Whipple in the Garfield Show, passed away at the age of 88 on this date 10 years ago today. So 10 years ago today, comedian, actor, and voice actor Stan Freberg passed away at the age of 88, best known for his work including Beaver and Lady and the Tramp, Junior Bear and Pete Puma in Looney Tunes, Moron and Freakazoid, and Dr. Whipple in the Garfield Show. So with that, I thank everybody for being here tonight. I hope everybody enjoyed the show. Let's see. Of course, we'll be back here with more niche news tomorrow. Also, again, if you hadn't already, guys, if you guys can help out by liking, sharing the stream, see if we can get some more viewers on here, that'd be appreciated. Also, if well, obviously we're past the point of commenting, so I won't say that. But of course, we'll be back here with more niche news tomorrow, as well as on Sunday. I'll be joined by by Apex from Apex Comics, who will be looking back to comics that went on sale in May of 1940. We'll be looking at comics that went on sale from Columbia Comics, most notably Big Shot Volume 1, Issue 3. So with that, I thank everybody for being here, and I hope to see everybody back here tomorrow. Bye.